What is going on, everybody? Paul Lombardi here from the 3&D, here to recap the 2022 NBA Draft for you guys. The NBA Draft is now in the books, and all of the rookie classes are set. Undrafted players are set, and there's a lot of interesting things that happened on draft night, and a few things to go over. First, Paolo Banchero ended up going number 1 overall, which I thought was very interesting. I didn't quite see that coming. I thought Jabari Smith was going to end up being first overall. He ended up going third to the Houston Rockets, which was a tremendous move by the Rockets. I think the Rockets had one of the best draft classes in the entire draft. But Banchero ended up going number 1 to the Magic. I think it'll be good for their front court. Add a go-to scorer to a core of Jonathan Isaac and Wendell Carter and all the rest of them. Chet Holmgren ended up going to Oklahoma City at number 2. Jabari Smith ended up going number 3, so that ended up being the top 3. Keegan Murray went to Sacramento at number 4. Not surprised by that. Potential successor to Harrison Barnes in that front court. I didn't expect them to really go guard at number 4. Jaden Ivey was on the board, and then Jaden Ivey ended up going to the Pistons, which I think is going to end up being a tremendous move for the Pistons. Add him to the backcourt with Cade Cunningham. The Pistons also had a great draft class all around. Shaedon Sharpe ended up going to the Trailblazers. That's exactly the guy they wanted. At number 7, Damian Lillard was said to be high on him. The entire Trailblazers organization was said to be high on him, so they ended up being able to snag him at number 7. That was great. A couple of interesting moves that I thought were, kind of strange. The Knicks, obviously, only as a big Knicks fan, they only came up with 1 draft pick. They traded away the 11th pick to Oklahoma City. They drafted Ousmane Dieng, and ended up trading him to Oklahoma City, and he ended up getting passed around a little bit. And then Jalen Duren at 13 was drafted by the Hornets, traded to the Knicks, and then traded to Detroit. And they ended up only coming away with 1 draft pick, the 42nd pick, which was Trevor Keels from Duke, freshman, who is known as a shooter, decent backcourt piece. I thought it was interesting. They really just did that to get more draft capital for the future. They acquired a few first-round picks in exchange for that. So I thought that was interesting that the Knicks, only came away with one draft pick. Didn't have a single first-round pick now this year. I thought that Jeremy Sohan going 9th overall was another interesting one. Spurs ended up taking him 9th overall. And I thought that the Spurs always shock everybody with their draft picks. They had 3 first-round picks. They were able to get Sohan at number 9. They got Malachi Branham at 20. Branham ended up falling a bit, in my opinion, and then they were able to get Blake Wesley, point guard from Notre Dame, at 25. So they got a few decent backcourt pieces, and a pretty solid stretch forward. And in Jeremy Sohan, who's a good defender, good on both ends of the ball. They think he can develop into an all defensive kind of player. So I thought that was definitely interesting. I thought the Cleveland Cavaliers came away with a good pick at 14, Ochai Agbaji, who was at Kansas this past year, national champion, one of the best players in the nation. Just gives them an extra scorer. I think that to be honest with you, I think he can slot in to a starting role almost right off the bat, especially if they lose Colin Sexton, who's a restricted free agent. I think that him matching up with Darius Garland in that backcourt could be something to watch out for, and something that definitely could be a good duo almost immediately, because he's a plug-and-play kind of guy. He was a 4-year guy at Kansas. I also thought that Patrick Baldwin Jr. at 28 for Golden State was a very, very good pick. Low risk, high reward for Golden State. He was one of the top recruits in the country coming into this year. He decided to go play for Wisconsin Milwaukee, which his dad was the head coach of. He actually got fired after this season, Patrick Baldwin Sr., but he decided to play for a mid-major so he can play under his dad. Was hurt and extremely inconsistent all year long, so he ended up falling. If he had played for Duke or North Carolina and played well, he probably would have been a top 10 pick in this year's draft, but he ended up falling to 28. I think Golden State could have came away with a steal in that one. I think that was a very good pick. Good shooter. He's big. He's a 6'10" small forward who can handle the ball. He's all around very, very solid player. So I liked that pick a lot from Golden State. I thought that was really good. I think very low risk, high reward, especially for a guy who was a huge recruit and just didn't have a great freshman season and fell a little bit. A couple of interesting names that went undrafted. Kofi Coburn from Illinois went undrafted. He signed with the Utah Jazz on a summer league contract. Gene Montero from the Overtime Elite camp. He went undrafted. He ended up signing with the Knicks on an Exhibit 10 contract. Johnny Juzang signed with the Jazz on a two-way deal. There was a few very interesting ones that ended up going undrafted, but for the most part, the draft went very, very smooth. I also liked the Grizzlies picks. I think the Grizzlies did a good job. They ended up getting Walker Kessler at 22. And they traded him to Minnesota, and then they ended up getting David Roddy at 23. Which was the 76ers pick that got traded to Memphis. So they came up with David Roddy, who I think is going to be a good NBA player. He's a legitimate size, about 6'6", 250, small forward, got great athleticism, can shoot the lights out. Very, very good all-around player. So I think that those were all very solid picks. The NBA draft went off with very smoothly, and it seemed very interesting. It seemed very good. There was a few curveballs that we expect every year. I loved the story of Jalen Williams from Santa Clara. There's two Jalen Williams in this year's draft. Jalen Williams from Arkansas, and then Jalen Williams from Santa Clara. But Jalen Williams from Santa Clara ended up going 12th overall. The Oklahoma City Thunder selected him, and went from a nobody recruit to a lottery pick in the NBA draft, which I thought was really cool. So the NBA draft went off smoothly. Definitely a lot of teams got better. A lot of rebuilding teams stepping in the right direction. I like what the Thunder have done. I like what the Pistons have done. There are a lot of interesting stuff, and this is going to be a good draft class. And now we look to 2023, where the NBA draft lottery may be historic. Hope everybody's doing well, and keep tuning in to Review and Preview. Check out the rest of the YouTube channel. 3&D is currently on hiatus for the off season, but we're going to keep dropping videos just like this for NBA free agency and more draft recap. Hope everyone's doing well, and enjoy your day.